here. And what I want to do is a few things that we're going to set up first that I have in there. First of all, the big thing was the robot status that's on there. I looked at the robot on Tuesday, and to be quite honest with you, with all of you, I was horrified at the wiring. I was horrified at what was actually in there, loose bolts and everything else. That was quite bluntly a disaster waiting to happen that's on there. So what we've done is we've rewired the robot completely, cut out some stuff that we don't need for the testing, and the robot has been past all the initial testing and is ready to go. However, there are some issues that we need to do. Number one, access will be totally restricted on that robot as far as any modifications for the electrical system. The only two people right now that I want to have access to until further notice is Sean Fitzsimmons and me. Yeah, but I'm not going to have that as permanent. What I'm going to require every member of the electrical team to do is to go through some training. Voltmeter, as well as learning how to wire and how the wiring and reading a ladder diagram. Because quite frankly, some of the stuff I found indicates a lack of knowledge of those two things. And that's got to be done, that's got to be done by the end of the semester if you want to work on the electrical team. The racks that we're going to use are the racks that we have back there. I use those for ELT 101, but we got some labs that we're going to run that's on there. I want to make sure that everybody knows how to work with these. Just because you catch physics doesn't mean a damn thing. This is electrical and everything else. Even Jason Modi, who has had electrical courses at UIC as well as here, told me that working on that robot was different than what he was used to. And for him to say it, and he's had electrical engineering courses, that says a lot. So we are going to have that. And that will be a requirement for anybody that wants to work on the electrical team and work either repair the robot or to be able to build it next, as we're going to be building it next semester. That's on there. It's quite obvious from what I've seen that there's a lack. And there's a lack of training, and that will be addressed. That's on it. You have a question, Joanna?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, did you happen to take did you happen to get some documentation, specifically, like, did you write anything down that was really effed up on the robot? Because
my emails.
Great.
Look at my emails. As far as I'm concerned, that is there. I'm not interested in what was messed up. I really am not.
Okay.
What I'm really interested in, number one, is preventing something like this from happening again. To be quite honest with you, and I'll make it very clear to you, if you're in the real world dealing with high voltage electricity, you leave bolts lying at the bottom of an electrical cabinet, and the machine goes up, you're going to be fired instantly. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. So again, it's a lack of understanding. And we're going to address that. That's all I'm going to say right now. Those of you, and again, you have until the end of the semester to do this, and I want everybody on the team everybody that's involved electrically to do that. I mean everybody. If you're interested in learning how to repair the robot or learning how to do that, those labs, and there are 4 labs that you'll need to do. One of them is learning how to read a watt meter. I mean a voltmeter. A multimeter is what we're going to have. The other thing is the other ones have to do with learning how to read the ladder diagrams and what relays are. When you have a component dangling on the side of the robot that's essential for the operating system, it makes you wonder if anybody ever was able to understand what the ladder diagram is for the significance of that part. So that's one thing that we're going to be doing. So again, that's something that I will send out an email to everybody concerned that we're going to be doing. Right now, as far as the robot goes, it's ready to run. I have given Luke and all the coders clear access to it. All you need to do is turn it on and get it going. So the only thing that's enabled on the robot are the drive motors. I did some testing on the drive motors. The drive motors are okay. We have access to the Early Childhood Training Center here at RHC. If we get our stuff together, we can go out this afternoon and we can try out the robot that's on it. We can try it in their sandpit area. And then, pumping station 1. We got that going. That's very good. That's on there. I think that is great that we have that. We have a maker space. But there is one, I do want to caution a few people about some things about the machinery in general. I'm not interested right now in anybody getting certified on a Bridgeport milling machine. Those machines are kind of dangerous, and I really, unless you have the experience to do it, I prefer that you stay away from those. That's on there. Like I said, I will not approve anybody getting certification, under Oakton on those machines. I've seen more accidents. I've been in maintenance for 35 years, and I've seen more accidents on 2 machines: drill presses and Bridgeports. People getting hurt on those. So again, if we have a need to, and we'll do it, then we'll talk about certification on Bridgeports for certain people. For now, no. That's on there. That is firmly out of our reach. That's on there. Right now, from what Simon showed me, Simon has a part that they built with a CNC machine. I think he can do quite well on the CNC machine. So, so as far as PS1, keep going with that. One of the things that I want the mechanical team to do is weigh all your options as far as what you're going to be doing, and we have to minimize our time that we need to fabricate this stuff. Don't get in. I know it's kind of hard. Sometimes it's when you have all the tools ready, you kind of go nuts and try to figure out, we'll make something more complicated than it needs to be. Stay simple, because when we go test it out there, that's going to be, the simplicity is going to count in our favor. Remember one thing, and I'm going to make this go over 50% of the robots at the NASA robotic mining competition fail.
Seriously?
Yes. Look at the statistics. They fail. Okay? And that's for a lot of reasons. A lot of them don't even get to move in the pit. A lot of them don't even make it in the pit. Those of you that were there last year know how many robots people were working on for 5 days in a row. I think some of you have seen some of those teams working in there. So we have to be, and that's why I'm pushing for us to have that robot ready to run, ready to go by the time we leave. Because when we get down there and we have to make alterations like we did last year, it is not easy. It is not fun. And we really don't, and I don't want to do that again. That's something I think every member of the team that was down there really was not in good shape. That's on there. I mean, we were lucky. We were working in close quarters. Nobody actually killed each other. That's how it was. So again, I want to make sure that. The other thing I want to make sure is the value of teamwork. This is a diverse team that's on there. And I want to make sure that everybody stays together and stay diverse. I don't want to hear anything about off-color remarks that's on there. I hear anything about off-color remarks, I will not hesitate to invoke Oakton's student code of conduct that's on there, because that is something that is there. I'm just putting my foot down. I'm going to be like the Air Force general. I'm sure some of you have seen the video circulating on social media. I'm going to take the same stand that he does, is that no tolerance. You make off-color remarks against any group or anything else, it won't go well down with me. That's on there. I want to make sure as we're working together as a team, we do this, especially when we're outside of a class situation. That's on there. Because you never know who you're talking to. You never know, and you never know how they'll take it. Give you a good example. My wife every day tells me, he says, all men are stupid, okay? But she's my wife. She's been married to me for 30 years. Try saying that to somebody that you barely know. They'll take it completely differently. And I've seen that happen over and over again in the workplace, where it winds up being an EEOC complaint. It winds up going, it may even wind up in courts that's on there. So I want everybody to keep, I don't care what your politics are. I really don't give a hoot that's on there. I think everybody knows a little bit by now what my politics are. I don't give a hoot. We are a non-political group. And the one thing that I don't want to do is we have discussion boards. Politics has to stay away from those discussion boards. You want to engage in politics or other forms of activism, there's plenty of other venues on the internet for you to act on. Not here. I don't appreciate people trying to impose their own political will or their things on us. That's one thing I don't want us to do. We're here for one thing and one thing only, and that is to work on the robot, to build the robot, and to get it to NASA. That's what we want to do. We will be reaching out to groups regardless of race, regardless of religion, regardless of affiliation, and regardless of political orientation. I want to make that extremely clear. Those of you that want to participate in outreach activities, you're welcome to do so. Nobody's forcing you. I want to make that very, very clear to everybody that's on there. I require everybody to do outreach, but if you don't want to do outreach at a certain spot because you may disagree with me one way or another, that's fine. But understand, we will not place any limits on this. We are not political, and we will stay that way. Last week there was some discussion about the Boy Scouts or Cub Scouts, and we will do that. I have no hesitation about doing any of that. Okay? I want to make that very, very clear. That's on there. So again, keep that in mind. Diversity is our strength. And that's one thing I want to do. And that's one thing that Oakton has. That's on there. That is said in our charter, in everything else, that diversity is our strength. And I want to keep that in mind. I want all of you to keep that in mind. That's on there. We all are as one of a team. Okay? Now, next thing I want to talk about is let's go down to the groups, find out what everybody's doing, and that. First of all, let's talk about mechanical. You guys were at pumping station 1. Matt, what did you guys do?
So, well, basically we got certified in 2 machines. An instructor was there, a guy named Sam Alderhall, he's pretty cool. We basically just walked in, he explained the safety precautions of this machine, he showed us how to use it, then he had all of us demonstrate from start to finish how to use the machine, how to turn on, use it. Yeah, we did it on Rockwell drill press and Johnson, I think it's bandsaw, right?
Johnson horizontal bandsaw.
Yeah, the horizontal bandsaw. Right.
Adrian broke it.
Pardon?
Adrian broke it.
Adrian broke it. Let me ask the group as a whole that was down there. How do you think it's going to help you with regard to fabricating the robot and some of the designs you did so far? Yes.
I think with regard to creating our robot, it gives us access to a lot of tools. Pumping Station 1 itself has access to even more tools that we can use. And it goes just beyond that, like going into the other areas that they have electrical and software. I mean, we have access to a whole bunch of resources there that can be accessed 24 hours a day, and I think that's really going to help us be able to produce this robot a lot faster.
Well, and I'll tell you what, I agree 100% with that. Last year, what we did was we sent a group of people down there to Pumping Station 1, and they made the wrong recommendation as far as I'm concerned. Because had they made, I think what happened was, I knew that they made the wrong recommendation when I think, Simon, you went down there during the summertime?
Wait, me and someone.
Yeah, you went, and you came back with a complete opposite story. And I think the group kind of cements that in place, because I thought that was something we overlooked. It could have really helped us out last year, and I think this year we're going to do that. I'm definitely going to be renewing our membership in there. For how many people or how many, that's going to be up in the air. We're going to take, Gloria and I are going to take a look and see how the effectiveness of the program is. But the idea here is the way I sold it, quite frankly, is I told everybody, I told the administrators, hey guys, you guys built a multi-million-dollar student center. Where's our makerspace? That's how I sold it. Where's the makerspace?
How'd they take that, Angela?
What?
How did
Kind of
they
looked
take
at
that?
me. Now, where's the makerspace? Okay? You know, they built that student center in there. It looks wonderful, but they kind of forgot about putting something in for technical students that want to work on something like that. So again, that was how I sold it. That was how I sold it in there. So what we're going, yeah.
Yeah, actually, I think one of the most valuable things about that place is the experience. Everyone knows what they're doing in there. Like, if you have a problem or something like that, you just ask and they'll tell you. You know how to fix it.
And you know what?
Thank you.
That is probably the most valuable resource for us to have, is more experienced hands. It's like having 4 or 5 Peters working there right with you. That's exactly it.
We can run the design by them, and they can give you their
Exactly.
their idea of it. They can give you like their experience. They can tell you what's a better way of doing it. And
Exactly.
yeah, there's so much knowledge and experience there, and share your thoughts on it. See what everyone else thinks in there. It's a great point.
Yeah, and I think, like I said, we are. You know, my thought is to keep the affiliation going even beyond the year. To what degree and to what scope, that's going to be something we'll change. But mechanical was one area where we really ran into problems last year, and that's what I'm pushing initially this year. That's on there. How far are you guys with the mechanical design of the robot? Okay, got it. Okay, gotcha. All right. Tell you what I want everybody to do as this thing's focused. Next week, for the benefit of the rest of the team, can you guys do a short presentation for us? Okay. Let's everybody do it. I want everybody to do a short. Just what's up, what's going on, what are some of the highlights that you're looking at? Because it looks like you're pretty far with the design. It's on. You got some ideas on what the design goes. So let's take a look at that. And that because I also want to gain, we want to gain experience from everybody else to take a look and see what you have in there. Good. And that. All right. Good. Anything else in mechanical? All right. Electrical, I think we talked about. That's on there. Sanjita, you came in late. You're going to be doing some training. That's on there. We're going to talk about training on racks. That's on there. Everybody on the electrical is going to have to do some training now. That's on there. That's on there. So that's going to be the one thing. The robot's ready to roll. So we're ready to roll as far as the robot goes. And that. Software. Luke, you want to talk about software or whatever?
So today we're going to be doing features and trying to get a more solid idea of what kind of tasks we want the robot to do and how we need to organize them in order to accomplish them in the time together.
Very good.
Besides that, everyone on the team is working on getting up to date with Git and
Rust. Okay. What I think we'll do after the meeting. Let's have you got the code ready to run on the robot?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Let's
Let's
have
get
to check a couple things and it should be good to go.
let's test it at least today on the robot. I mean, if you don't have, if you feel you have other things on your agenda that are more important, that's fine. I blanked out the next 3 Saturdays at the Childhood Center for us to run the robot.
Great.
So we have that in there. So if we don't do it this week, it's not a bad thing. We can do it next week. We can do it. We can do it next week. That's on there. That we have on there. There's other things that the team wants to work on. So I want to give us something there. But the robot's ready to go. I do have the cables there for you to hook up your Raspberry Pi onto that. I have not enabled. That's one thing I wanted to tell the software team as well. The shovel lifting mechanisms and the rotation mechanisms are disabled on the robot. The only thing that runs on the robot are the drives, drive units. That's the only thing that's running on the robot. Now, I have not yanked everything off because I think at some point, I don't know if the mechanical team wants to do some tests or whatever, we left that on there for the time being. So the only thing that runs on the robot right now is the 4 drivers. That's the only thing that runs, so we can isolate where the problems are. That's on there. Okay, good. So let's at least get the testing done today. If you guys, if all of you on the team think that you need more time, go ahead and do that. Diana, what about how's outreach coming along? I know you've been throwing a lot of posts out there.
Oh, Well, the social media we've been trying to throw out as much as possible, get attention, and you notice that tagging people in the images also shows up on their Facebook, and that gets more attention from their friends and family and stuff. So that's been working pretty well. Outreach, I think we're still talking about who we're reaching out to and all that stuff.
Good. All right. Gloria has got. She's talking to Majid and me, as well as to. I think there may be some outreach opportunities, and I'll for those of you in the outreach, I will be talking to you as well on those. Okay, good. We talked mechanical systems. What's up?
Oh, I was going to say, for outreach, I did formally make the outreach report for 2018. It is a document that's shared, so.
You posted that last night, I believe, right? Or was it the night before? It was pretty recently.
I don't know when, but Sean and I had a lot of notes that didn't have anything to do with systems engineering, so when I was cleaning up our document, I just ended up making theirs, so it's there and shared, and that's all ready, so.
Thank you.
All right. The one thing what you're going to do is make sure that when we are doing the outreach report, that we stick slavishly to NASA's rubric.
Oh, yeah.
They love that.
I've got the rubric posted in the document.
Yeah, they love that.
We
When
are also,
Lynette- Yeah.
as far as this goes, I want to take a second to really recognize the thought and effort of our very own Luke Polcher. No,
All right, Luke.
I'm 100% serious. You guys, a lot of you guys don't even know, like, Luke is the heavy mentor. He and we as the systems team and in conjunction with Luke and with Diana have been talking a lot about this kind of the outreach and how are we going to make it better, make it more efficient. And Luke has come up with an absolutely ingenious way to basically make the outreach piece of this team a program moving forward so that there's continuity where we're dealing with some of the same schools to kind of, capsulize it such that any member of the team is capable of doing an outreach event, which means all you shy bastards are going to actually have to show up and talk to some people, buckle up. We are going to basically put it together so that every single member of this team is capable of going anywhere and doing a great STEM presentation, really talking about robotics, engaging communities and everything. There is no excuse not to be participating in outreach events. It is a part of the scoring rubric, just like wearing the damn t-shirts or throwing sparks around. So everybody is on the outreach team, as far as I'm concerned. And Luke has come up with some brilliant ideas that he has now handed off to me, and they are languishing in my swamp of
I think with this, there are some issues. Lynette has come up, her professor came up with something for helping a disabled person put out some kind of with some type of a device. I wish she would have been able to discuss it more. That's something that we can do as an outreach event. That's quite similar to what Alabama did. So that's kind of what we're going to be looking at doing. Yes.
As long as we're talking about outreach ideas for a second, I was actually wondering, I wanted to throw out the idea that maybe we could do something for to help Puerto Rico. I was reading about a lot of different hacker groups that are putting together. You know exactly what I'm talking about.
Well, I just know that there's been a natural disaster and a tragedy. It's been happening all over the world. I think it's a great idea.
I think and that's we've had 3 major hurricanes now in the last 3 weeks.
And every single one of them is in the United States.
Yeah, every single one of them. Anyway, no, I don't have an issue with that. We can put something, if we want to put something together. Yeah.
Let me just read off the rubric to make sure we hit all the points if we're doing anything like that. The report must reflect how the team member thinks the outreach project inspired others to learn about robotics, engineering, or Martian activities. The outreach must be STEM focused. The report must demonstrate the quality of the outreach, including how hands-on activities were used to engage the audience at their level of understanding. So, unless we're going to Puerto Rico, it's going to be very hard.
Teaching kids how to rebuild a water filtration plant.
Or we
With
can
robots.
send them water filtrations that they can build for themselves.
Or just a post.
Just a post that's on there.
Yeah.
I think that's something I think the fact is what they want to do is they want us to be STEM outreach, and they want it to be focused very closely. That's on there. If we want to send something else,
Then that's entirely something we can do, but it's outside of the rubric.
it's outside of the rubric completely.
Also, Lynette did send out an email about the senior project, the ramp and
Yeah,
circle.
exactly.
Yeah, so you guys can just Google search senior design or something,
Right.
like that, and you can find it if you want to take a look.
Okay. Yeah, there's a lot of things. Anyway, what I want to get beyond this, anything, Sean, Jeremy, regarding system safety, or come on in. Come on in. Anything on systems that we want to talk about today?
We have had what I would consider to be an extraordinarily fruitful week.
Yes.
Despite not really having seen much of each other.
Yeah.
We have some documents that we need to review with the team as a whole. What's the easiest way to use, Jeremy? Projector?
Yeah, I could throw it up on the projector. Maybe we could do this after our meeting, after the formal meeting ends. Yeah.
So one of the two of the chief most important documents and drivers of design decisions that happen in the kind of the preliminary phases of any project are the concept of operations, or ConOps, and the initial and the requirements table. We have drafted up. We've basically drafted up preliminary versions of these, and we need team feedback on them. We need you guys to take a look at them and tell us if there's anything we're missing, if there are any use cases that we're not, highlighting. Basically, what these things do and what they should be doing is kind of, when you have a concept of operations, the concept of ConOps basically kind of tells you, here's how the mission's going to go. Here's how, if we imagine actually using the robot in the future, right? Like, here's how this is going to look, and you'll see when you actually look at the document. It actually makes a lot of sense. As well, requirements. A lot of our requirements are given to us in any engineering project. You're going to get handed a list of requirements, okay, for the rest of your life. Booga. That's engineering. Requirements are what your system has to do, and more also kind of how it has to do it. When we draft the requirements documents, what it does is it informs your work moving forward. So it tells you, like if you're at any point working on something and you go, hey, and somebody goes, hey, what requirement is that for? And you go, I don't know. Then either you're doing the wrong thing, or somebody needs to, you need to check that real quick. Like, what are you doing that for? It's one of the cheapest ways that we kind of organize our stuff. So we finished the preliminaries for that, and I feel pretty good about them. I feel like once we have those documents formalized, and once we get you guys feedback, see if we're missing anything, that should really actually help a lot of kind of there's a little bit of a lack of focus, I think. There's a lot of like kind of running off in a lot of different directions. I think having those things is going to really help everybody, kind of focus in. So we will get that. We can get that done, today, right now. Please do hang out, or please do check in with us and take a look at our stuff, because you will be hearing about it again. Also, I just wanted to mention real quickly, one of the things, what occurs to me is that one of the cheapest things that the entire team is involved in right now, if we look at all the different groups, is everybody's doing onboarding, right? So I know Luke's got, software onboarding projects that he's doing in terms of learning about Git and ROS and all of that stuff, right? PS1 certifications are clearly mechanical team onboarding, right? It's learning how to use the stuff, kind of catching up on where we should be. Now, Angelo's come in today and said, electrical team, we're going to be doing some onboarding, learn how to use, a multimeter and all of that stuff, which is entirely appropriate. I'm like so overwhelmed with joy to hear that that's sort of where everybody's at, because that is entirely appropriate to what we're supposed to be doing in terms of the life cycle phases. In terms of it's eerily predictive how our review structure actually predicted that this would be happening. I got to tell you, it's delightful from our point of view.
I think the other thing too is with software, I think the onboarding is essential with software, because the number of people that you have on the team, they have to understand what's going on with that. So some way of gating everything, doing everything, and knowing what's in there is very, very essential in a software team that's on there. I gave everybody the story before the meeting that when the space shuttle program was in place, Unisys, which did the code maintenance on the shuttle's computer systems, charged about 1,000 lines for each line of code that they modified. The reason they charged 1,000 lines was because of the amount of testing that had to be done. A blue screen of death on the space shuttle would be kind of dangerous, I would think, especially when you're traveling 10,000 miles an hour in the stratosphere and that. So they had to more or less make sure that the code works. Some of the same thing can apply to us, because it's just like I told the team when we had a problem in 2015. We had a robot just died in the middle of the arena because of the code issue. So the fact is, and that's where we went with some type of a backup system where we'd have a reset system, because again, these are the kind of the things that we need to look at. So I'm going to encourage everybody to do that. That's going to be kind of the thing that we're going to be looking at for this semester. And that. So yeah, go ahead, Sean.
It's absolutely eerie that you bring that up, because that's one of the big things that Jeremy and I were just discussing in our concept of operations document is failure modes. So one of the things that you're supposed to do is identify normal operating conditions and say, theoretically, this is how the thing will work, right? I drafted one for autonomous operation. We press the button and the robot goes and digs. I drafted one for telerobotic operation. They start a timer and Luke goes and digs. And then there's failure mode, which is autonomy fails. And the failure mode one is autonomy fails, telerobotic takes over, Luke finishes the job, right? But what other failure modes are there? Okay, so a failure mode is a wheel falls off it. What do? You can't go out in the arena, right? Prohibited by the rules in rubric, right? You couldn't go up to Mars and throw a wheel back on there, yeah? You know, so pretty much, as far as Jeremy and I have been able to determine, we only have one failure mode, because the second you touch a joystick, the second you do anything to take over control of that robot, your autonomy run is finished. You're done. If we even have to reset anything, your autonomy run's finished. You are no longer operating autonomously and can no longer earn autonomous points. So our failure mode means autonomy has failed, right? If something breaks, and mechanical, this is especially on you guys are the only line of defense against one falls off, the hopper doesn't activate, right? So we can't do anything in terms of failure mode operation without you. So basically, our solution to that, our workaround is you got to build it right the first time. It cannot break. Congratulations, have a great time with that. Unless anybody's got a way around that I'm not seeing, and please.
Well, the thing is, if you watch the videos on YouTube behind the glass, it shows you some of the failure modes that we have on it. With one robot from Auburn, basically what happened was the arm swung out and snapped the cable to the auger that's on there. So there's a number of that. So again, it is incumbent. And that's why one of the things that I preach is simplicity. The simpler we make it, the less parts we have to fail, the better off we're going to be. So that's one thing I want everybody to do. Keep it simple, because if we don't, I've seen there's a lot of, and if you don't believe me, go to YouTube, go under the glass, and they have some detailed pictures there of the robots, and you can see just how some of the good ones work and where some of the failures occur. And so that's going to be something that we really need to look at. Not only the mechanical team, also the electrical team. If I blow a 100 amp fuse, guess what?
We're dead.
We're dead. If one of the motors fails, we're kind of dead. So that kind of thing we need to look at on both mechanical as well as electrical.
One of the interesting things to really note about this, and while you guys didn't actually write the ConOps, it's interesting to note the way that the ConOps automatically starts informing your design decisions.
Yep.
So when we realize that, wow, there is no failure mode for wheel falls off, there is no failure mode for a blown fuse, what that automatically says to you is, since this is an unrecoverable thing, since we can't make this better, what has to happen here is we got to design it so that doesn't happen. So that ought to automatically be altering your design decisions. That ought to that's automatically shaping your thinking. And that's such a high-level thing to think about. There's nothing technical in it. Nobody's talking about no motherboards or nothing like that. It's just, geez, if it breaks, we can't fix it. That's just like really, to me, that's absolutely fascinating how that actually can change the way things go, flowing downward, which, and that's something you should really be aware of. Look, you guys, if you're not reading the systems engineering stuff, if you're not reading the stuff that we post, I can't help you. I mean, if NASA thinks it's important enough to make it the second highest fucking scoring thing in this competition, they tell you, here's the handbook, they basically hand it to you, and you don't read it, you are an idiot.
And the thing is, we've got to remember one thing about the systems engineering handbook. what is behind it is NASA's
Experience.
in the last 50, 60 years. For example, designing probes that crash into the surface of Mars. Designing probes that zoom right past Venus without slowing down. All that kind of stuff is in there, and you can take a look there. Look at the robustness, for example, the Curiosity, New Horizons, all those. Do you think they've been glitch-free on their way? No, they have not. But they have designed it in such a way that there are ways that they can get around it. Now, some of that is not available to us. It's on there for obvious reasons, but we can learn from that to help us in any way that we can. So that's kind of what we're going to be looking at. Now, what I did when I rewired the robot, I took some of that into account. What I did was I said, okay, let's look at design failure modes. What I did is I completely bypassed several circuits that we had in there because we had simplicity. We just bypassed all of that stuff out because of what we wanted to do. So again, take a look at what your design decisions should be and figure out what is the best way around them. So that's the kind of thing to look at. Okay, anything else, John?
That's all I got.
Okay. What we're going to do today, as far as it goes, Lynette is not here to discuss anything that's on there. And I think what we need to do is we need to keep developing our thing. For next week, what I want everybody to do is I want mechanical. You guys put up, give us like a presentation of what your design looks like. I really love to see it. You know, we see it on the screen that's on it. Doesn't have to be very big. A couple of slides, that's about it. You feel what we're going to do. As far as electrical, all those of you that are on the electrical team, I will be sending out a list of what labs that I will want you guys to do. That's on there. In that, because from what I've seen on what happened on there, we need to up our game on that. We need to get more familiar with what's going on, especially if we're going to troubleshoot, especially if we're going to work in that. So I'll give you a list of all those. The racks are here. I am here on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays from 3 o'clock on. You can come in and do these. Also, I'm here on Friday. I'm available from about 12:30 till 2:30. That I'm here if you want to come in, or you can even come here earlier on a Saturday because I'm usually here about 11 o'clock. But at any rate, I want the lab work done. I want you all to get familiarity not only with the test instruments, but I also want familiarity with how the type of wiring that the robot is built, and also with ladder diagrams. That's key. That is key. That is essential for us going forward. So it's on there. Anything else that we should talk about? Yeah.
I mentioned a couple things.
Sure, go ahead.
So we want to simulate our software to talk about features, but I think it might be really helpful if we had one person at least from mechanical who kind of has an idea what the robot is doing to just kind of give us a general idea, because we can't really talk about any features besides like mapping and navigation unless we know how you're thinking about it. So that would be, I don't know, you guys have the meeting, your meeting also after this, so I just wanted to put that out there, that'd be really helpful. And last thing, this is off a different subject though, but I thought you guys would find this interesting. This Tuesday in the Spains is going to be IEEE Day, so it's like they're doing a anniversary for how long IEEE has been here. There's going to be food at 6. What I thought you guys would be interested in, that at 7:15 is going to be a presentation by a professor from Northwestern who works on connecting brain nerves to mechanical prosthetics, to like robotic prosthetics. So I'm not going to be there till late until the presentation starts, but I thought you guys might be really interested in just seeing the technical presentation or just having free food. So if you want, you can cover me and take a picture of the schedule, because I thought, like, if you're an engineer, you can't not think that's really cool.
Yeah, it is. Like I said, I think prosthetics and what he's talking about, that's going to be a lot of what you're going to be seeing in the future with the applications of robotics. That's on there. A lot of that's going to be there. As the population gets older, as we begin to see better ways to do that. Matt, you emailed me with some news. You might want to share some of the news.
I do, and I just spoke to Lynette with other big news. So I had the website on auto renewal, so that means we're kind of a month early, just auto renewed. So we're coming to the month anniversary or the 1 year anniversary of our website. I think it was launched October maybe October 13th or something. So I was talking to Lynette, and we should do a relaunch of our website and introduce the logo and kind of update the social media profiles with the new logo and make just some updates to the website. It really doesn't have to be too much. I don't know if Lynette or Jeremy has a plan. But here's the cool thing. When I launched a website professionally, and we kind of did this whole campaign around rebranding the entire company, just giving it kind of like a new, I mean, every company, Microsoft has rebranded, every big company has kind of updated their logo or done a new website. And here's an interesting thing. If you kind of do this kind of shotgun approach where you launch your website and you redo your social media platforms, it's an opportunity to get your social media profiles verified by a G-Tech person or a Facebook tech person. And that's what happened to the company. So this was a SMB company, just a medium-sized company that got the blue check mark that you see next to official business pages. A lot of business pages, they don't have that. And they don't know how to do it. And I was thinking to myself, how do you get that verification? And one of the ways is if they see that you just relaunched something and there's been some, I guess, some social media status around it, then they will see you as an official organization. So I think it's an opportunity to get that kind of verification or approval. I mean, that is going to be hard to do, but either way, it's going to be really cool to do a launch. So we should talk about whether we do it, I guess, October 2nd or October 1st or October 6th on a Friday. I think Lynette mentioned October 1st or October 6th.
Yeah, I think pretty much. I think you. I will leave that decision up to you and Lynette. I think also you might want to talk to Diana as well too. Jeremy, you have any thoughts?
For relaunching the website, I'm very supportive of this. I want to do team photos soon. So that would be really nice if we could organize maybe in 2 or 3 weeks to start profiling, maybe just individual teams at first, team photos. But we don't even have last year's team photos on the site. We've got like 2 years ago and the year before that, we've got their photos. But
okay, that sounded a lot of work. I basically, when I created the site, I had it for like team in 2011, 2012.
Yeah.
And it all looks really just a very simple layout.
Yeah.
That was the whole point of the design. And anything fancy was meant to be shown from the video, which is very cool.
Yeah.
So I guess I'll basically just copy and paste from team 2016 to team 2017. Add in some copywriting, a few sentences, put up a picture, but I really think the website is ready to go.
Yeah. To be honest with you, the way I look at the website as an introduction to us as the team. If you want to get into the nuts and bolts of what we do every day, you can always go to our social media page.
Exactly.
And that's really it. So if the thing is that what I want to do is, updating a website continuously is a lot of work. Ask anybody that works at Yahoo or any of the other big companies. You're sitting there, you pound out HTML, CSS, or any of those pages. That's a lot of work. So what we want to do is we want to be there as an introduction, and hey, people introduce ourselves to the world or to the user community. And anything else, we go to Facebook, we go to Twitter. That's where they get to know us and see what we do day to day. That's on there. That's a lot easier for us to do there. That's on there. So that's kind of the way I look at it. Because I can tell you what, your WordPress, first of all, is not easy to use. That's on there, especially if you want to get good results, right, Matt?
WordPress is great.
Yeah, but the fact is that if you want to get good results,
WordPress is great.
Yeah.
I mean, before WordPress, we were writing things in Dreamweaver. Before that, it was Notepad++.
Yeah.
I did a class here for doing websites by hand.
Yeah. But
WordPress is a nice, friendly, GUI layout that you can go later into the code.
But the thing is that to get it to do right what's in there, that takes technique. That's what I'm trying to do.
Well, let's say Amazon, which runs the best website in the world, that's a team of 10,000 web designers, 150,000 minimum job. I mean, it's that kind of stuff. I mean, there's a scalability level.
Exactly. That's exactly, yeah. Like I said, I want to, like I said, and that's our focus, and that's what we should be looking at, is that our website is our gateway, and then everything else goes into our social media pages that's there. Okay, I would be, so whenever, talk to Lynette, talk to Diane over here.
Yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun. We'll do those after Fix videos. No other team has those cool videos.
Cool.
And we're gonna stand out. No, we are. Those things are so cool.
I love your love of the dissolve, man. It's awesome.
All right.
Love it.
Okay, great. Good news that's on there. As I said before, outreach and social media are about 30 points. And I would say one thing, we're going to be really extremely dumb if we walk away from those 30 points.
Mm-hmm.
At least not make sure that we get some of that.
That's why we were in the uppermost part of the strata last year and not the bottommost part of the strata.
Exactly, yeah. That's exactly right. Our robot earned exactly 0 points last year as an FYI. All our earnings came from the systems engineering paper, the presentation, and outreach and social media.
Yeah.
That's how come we were 13th. We did so well in the other areas, even though we didn't win any awards. That's on there. So it says, so again, that's one thing why we're stressing that as well this year. That's on there. Had we done as well with the robot that we've been there, we would have been in the top 5 or the top 10 very easily, the way the scoring was. Okay, I don't have anything else to do. We've got a lot of work to do today. Mechanical team, electrical team, everybody's got in their software, particularly when we get the robot up and running. I'm going to leave it up to the software team to decide how they want to spend their time. All I'm telling you is the robot's ready to go. You can at least test it today, make sure it's tested, it runs your software, and then make the decision whether you want to go outside. And I will let security know when to let us out. Okay? All right. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Who seconds the motion? Second. All right, Luke. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Motion carried. Meeting adjourned. All right.